on the BOP, the BLERD official podcast. I am so excited you have joined us this Tuesday. Oh my gosh, we have so much fun stuff to talk to you guys about. But before we get into any of that, I have got to introduce my co-host, my host with the most, Mr. Hilton George. How are you, my friend?
Hello. Oh man, it's been a heck of a month. I mean, just cons and movies and just so much stuff going on for us to talk about.
So much.
I was just like, oh my God, we should have been in San Diego.
Oh,
that would have been awesome.
I
We got to figure out how to do that because
I think we were the only three people who weren't there.
The only ones. And I was feeling the FOMO was strong. And I said, well, you know what, we're gonna talk about all of the stuff right here at our own little Comic-Con little channel right here on the bottom. And we're gonna make it so.
Yeah, we've got an episode that we're going to be filming very soon. We're going to go live and we'll do the whole San Diego mashup. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I felt the same way. But you know what? We're going to be there next year. Christi Renee, how are you, my dear? How is life?
Life is grand. You know, another beautiful day in Zamunda.
Yes,
I'm here. I'm happy to be here as always. I miss y'all through the week. And so I'm just glad to be here talking about what we gonna talk about.
You know, we got so much to talk about. I mean, okay, first of all, I have to call out the obvious. Hilton doesn't read his team memos. He did not listen to the bun day memo. Hilton, he sent you that bun that you could have just clipped on your hat.
Arda Wiggs was supposed to send me a bun, and it didn't come in the mail. And this is what happens when you go with DHL and not UPS. You know, they kind of do their own thing. They get it to you when they need to get it to you. So
but
I'm
it's
bun
okay.
free.
We're gonna let you stay in the crew. I don't know. This is actually just a mistake. Like
he got It's buns and bonnets. He got a bonnet on. That's okay.
He got a bonnet.
I gotta wear something here. Something keep it tight overnight.
That's all right.
The bun's underneath the hat. He's hiding it. He's shy. No, you know what? We signed on, and I was like, how the heck did we both have our hair up on the same day? You know, women. We like connect
30 plus years.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's true. Yeah, 30 years that we've been friends. Oh, my goodness.
We only
how's
21.
That possible when
I know.
I was like, how is that possible? I'm
when
only
you're 28. It doesn't make sense. The math
ain't
multiverse of madness right here.
Yes, the multiverse of math madness. Oh my gosh. So speaking of all of that, we, a couple weeks ago, Thor, Love and Thunder came out. I rushed to the theater. We all went to go see it, and we have to review it. We have, because I mean, it's part of our wheelhouse. We're
Marvel love, our Marvel infatuation,
infatuation. And it's funny because I want to do something first. I want us to give it on a scale of 1 to 10. I want us, first I want you to say, what was your favorite Marvel movie? What is your favorite of all time? Like, I've got at least 3. I couldn't think of one favorite, but I got like 3 that are like my faves that I really, really enjoy and I watch over and over again. Hilton, I'm going to go to you first. What is your top 3? Let's say top 3 Marvel movies.
Well, I mean, just on its face, you have to give Endgame the top slot because it structurally places itself there and thematically places itself there. And it was the biggest payoff and fan service that any comic book person could ever ask for.
Right.
So it was everything.
Tragedy, heartbreak.
It had everything, triumph. And you laughed and you cried and you screamed and you yelled. It just got all out of pocket. It was it was an ugly scene in that theater on opening weekend. But then the next one down, obviously, is Black Panther.
Absolutely, and I agree. We're Black right there Panther, with each other.
Just told this amazing standalone story, and it just really, really, really opened up an entire new phase, no pun intended, of diversity and inclusion and representation. I mean, it really, really went further than any movie before it on the Marvel scale, and it just did so much, and it was so well done, and it was just nothing not to love about that movie.
Yeah.
And if we're going to have a third, I mean, I got to go with The Winter Soldier. I mean, it just...
You know what's so funny? that movie and Civil War are kind of like they go back and forth for me. But it was just that whole like like the meeting the Winter Soldier, like the introduction of that. Oh yeah, I mean it was amazing. I
The
agree.
collapse of Shield and the infiltration by
Yeah.
Hydra and the intrigue and the spycraft and the conspiracy theories and just all of that was in it. And it wasn't really even a superhero movie
No.
in that, other than the super soldiers that were in it. But it was just a story that could have taken place outside of the MCU and still been just as brilliantly told and just as entertaining.
Mhm.
And they didn't have to do that. They could have made a movie with all of the bells and whistles, and Thor could have come in and all this stuff. And they said, no, we're gonna tell a ground level story about like betrayal and intrigue and espionage, and it just gave us
very
everything.
good.
So yes,
it was great. It was great. I agree with all of those. I agree with those three. Christy, what do you have to add? Are there any others? Because like Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man that we had, that one really pulled at my heartstrings. So that one, I wouldn't say it was top 3, but it is like 4. Like it's like
right.
Like it was like
3-ish.
I cried, and I like literally cried when Aunt May, So for me, I was like, wow, this is making me cry like when Iron Man died.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what? I thought I was coming to see a happy, family-friendly movie. Here I'm crying. I'm crying for these fictional characters like I know them.
Well, I will piggyback off of Hilton, and he got the first 2. I would choose those first 2, but I would swap them. Of course, naturally, y'all know me.
Yeah,
Black,
of course.
Black Panther is number 1.
I don't. I would have never guessed. I don't.
Black Panther is number 1.
Have you met Christi, ladies and gentlemen? Have you seen her before?
She walks around like this.
All day.
Look over her shoulder right now.
Her hand is so together. Her palm is naturally like.
Can I show you my newest? And then I'm going to give you my third one. So here's my newest little baby, guys. I got a baby Killmonger. I can't resist it, like anything. I had to cry when I got new headphones. But look, sitting on set are my Black Panther headphones.
If you run across a Black Panther set of headphones, you just have to get it for her. Black Panther. Oh, I got you, girl. I got you.
Beats by T'Challa.
Hello.
Ooh, if they put that out and it was like heavy on the drum bass beat, I'm losing it. I'm gonna. They should put the Beats by T'Challa. If Marvel had any sense, I would put the Beats by T'Challa out next November. By November, I would have that on the market.
Yes.
Man. Okay, so
Black Panther number 1, and then definitely good Lord, Endgame.
Okay.
That was just, I mean, again, the scenes never cease to just make me go, yeah. So, and I still cheer and get goosebumps every time everybody shows up on set. Hell, when the fire wheel thing opens up for, again, Wakanda comes through.
Oh man,
I still lose my mind. So I love those 2, but I would tell you my number 3. It's funny because I had to sit here and try to replay, life.
I know, it's like I'm just making you guys on the.
I know it's a quiz.
You didn't even know you had this.
And it's hard. It's hard to choose. I mean, again, because we are obsessed with Marvel. Marvel has just. It's like the. It's the story of our lives. I guess Marvel is just gone with us for so long. So I'm going to be sentimental and go back to the very first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, because I literally, my kids grew up with that. And I told y'all before, my oldest kingdom is Spider-Man still to this day. And they have an affinity, like there is an undying love. And it's because of that Spider-Man movie. I mean, that's when they came along and he was Spider-Man, and I bought into every ounce of it. I mean, every Spider-Man pajama set, toy, pencil ring, whatever. It was like, okay, it's my house is covered in Spider-Man. So that's going to be my choice. But I would tell you, you talked about crying in No Way Home. No Way Home.
Yeah, No Way Home.
I'm telling you, I'm still, every time I see a clip of the trailer, even now, because they're pushing it out on all the different platforms. And so when I just see all 3 of them show up, like that was my moment in the film.
It was a great moment.
I still remember going, and my son, of course, the middle one, he's like, oh my God, I embarrass my kids.
You have to embarrass the kids. Well, the reason I asked this question, because I wanted in our minds to just wrap around what we feel some of the best movies have been, and just think about how Love and Thunder stood up to those, you know? And for me, I will be honest with you. I went into the theater with no preconceived notions. Well, maybe some, but I mean, nothing major. I went in there just wanting to be entertained. I was entertained, but on a scale of 1 to Wakanda, you know,
that's impossible. That's just not even fair.
But even so, like just on a scale of, let's say on the scale of Thor's history of the movies that we had, I would say Love and Thunder for me was like a 7 or an 8. Like I loved it, but I just, I don't know what it was. You know what it was? I do know what it was. Because of course, you know me, I talked about it to anyone who'd watched it, and I was overanalyzing everything about it. I enjoyed the movie. It was very good, had some really good moments, had some heartstring things, and had some, you know, but what, you know, it's like one of those things where we go to see an action movie, and you Ragnarok did this for me, where I went to see this, you know, hero action movie, and I was surprised by the humor and the funny and just the lightness, and just it was just really cool. This movie, I felt like it was just joke, and it was like I showed up to a comedy and there was some action. Like it just almost like the comedy was almost too much for me. Like I felt like every character was funny. There wasn't one straight man in this that could just anchor all the funniness. Like everybody was funny. Jane was trying to be funny. You know, Valkyrie was trying to be funny. Everybody was trying to be funny. So that was the only thing that kept me from loving this movie. But that's where I was. But don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it.
Right.
I was at a Comic-Con. It was a Friday night, and that was like a good wind down for me. But Hilton, what were your thoughts? Because I didn't ask you anything about it. We don't talk about anything before we get here.
No, it's I think that's a valid criticism. I've heard it in other places from other people that, you know, the movie itself took itself so non-seriously that we didn't take it seriously in the way that it could have been. Like you said, if it had that serious anchor. So for instance, the contrast between this and Ragnarok, you know, you see more of the foreboding threat from Hela. You know, you see the destruction of Asgard, you see the death of Odin, you know, you get this sense of weight, so that when the levity comes, it has a contrast. You know, it's something to play off of, even if there's not necessarily a straight person in the scene. It's playing against a straight backdrop, and therefore it has more contrast. Whereas this is more of the backdrop, the foreground, the front ground, everything kind of was, you know, just like you said, it was very light, it was very funny. And I think that was a direction that Taika Waititi, the director of this and Ragnarok, decided to go, and they decided to let him go because he took a franchise that, quite frankly, people had lost a lot in.
It had tanked.
Because you know, Thor, the original, you know, movie, Thor, the Dark World, you know, he was this serious, you know, Shakespearean type of character. And Taika Waititi said, well, let me put him on his heels and see when he's not sure of himself, and let him find himself. And I think that was good for that movie. But then this movie, you're kind of like, okay, you know, Thor still hasn't really found himself. Right. And you're still kind of on that journey, which we loved, and it was funny and everything was brilliant. But now you're looking at characters and you're like, okay, we're on the same kind of arc that we were on in Ragnarok when it comes down to the characters, even though this is a new story. So I liked the movie. I feel like they managed to sneak in some consequence that made it, you know, necessary viewing to move the phase 4 out and the phase 5 in. You know, they did a lot of stuff, you know, with expanding the universe to bring in the forces of the universe. You know, you see the center of the universe with Eternity. Eternity is like it. Like, you know, to introduce Eternity in the movie is like, I like how you gonna do that. Right. You know, they snuck in 2 Celestials, you know, in a quick cameo. You know, they put a whole context around the gods that was not there before.
That has not been there.
Immediately expanding the God universe, sort of in a way that you saw in Moon Knight, but just took it to the whole next level. You saw the dragon from Shang-Chi. You saw Korg's God that he mentioned
Mhm.
beforehand. You know, you saw Bastet in a very quick cameo in the movie, but more highlighted in some of the after production shots
Yes.
of Wakanda. You know, so there's so many little Easter eggs in there that made it a Marvel movie and not just a Thor movie. But yeah, I'm with you on this. It was the thing that took away from it is that everything was funny and everything was character, and everyone was trying to be kind of zany, and it, you know, it didn't take away from the movie, but it didn't carry, you know, it limited the movie. It could only go so far on that platform, and we saw the edge of that.
Exactly. And that was like the thing that I felt like, you know, even when you have these really fun movies, because like you think about Black Panther, you know, all of us agree that is like one of the ones that just blew us away. There are some moments where we're in the theater and you're like, oh, you know, the song comes on, you're dancing, you're cheering them on. But there's also, you know, and there was moments between him and his sister where we were laughing because it's just the banter between a brother and sister, and they're like, you know, just being funny with each other. But there's always a moment in these movies where you're like the seriousness and like you're on the edge of your seat. Like, are they going to make it? Are you on the edge of your seat? Like, what's going to happen? And balancing that humor and that, like, just that edge, that thrill is, to me, what they do so well. And this movie, I felt like, you know, when you watch a movie where you have, like, you know, I love Kevin Hart. So this is not a diss to Kevin Hart. But when they put him in a movie, they usually put him in a movie with someone to anchor, because Kevin Hart is a 10. He's on 10. He's like, he does this through the whole movie. Like, he's just joke. And he is just coming. You know, he's probably like life on set where he is guns blazing. He's going. But some of the best movies he's been in, when there was someone who could anchor that, and you had a mix of where you felt some heart and some pain and some thrill, and then all of a sudden he just throws that joke at you and you fall out and you're laughing, and you can't take it anymore.
Well, see, that's why they call it comic relief.
Yeah.
You know, it's supposed to be that breather that you get in between the seriousness of any given story, where you either throw in a joke or you have a character whose job it is to be funny in any given scene. And that works for Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
And when you switch the equation around, where the seriousness, where you have kind of like drama relief and drama happening in between the comedy, you know, that formula has its limitations when it comes down to superhero movies. And we saw some of that, you know, and I think it only took maybe a point and a half off of, you know, what the
That's
movie
what I said. It was like
done,
a 7 to an 8. Like, it was, I don't know that this was ever supposed to be a 10 movie, you know, but it would have been like an 8 or a 9, I think, if they would have just balanced that out a little bit. So, Christi, give me your thoughts, because Christi was one of the first to see it. She was, yes. You
Can we just celebrate that for a moment?
We're gonna celebrate the fact she did her homework. Like,
where my bear at? Where my bear? Give me my bear.
Your Boogie with the Bear award goes to Christi Renee. Hi, Christi.
You saw an early screening, didn't you? Was that an early screening?
Well,
she wasn't even. This was beating out the premiere.
I
saw you posting on Wednesday.
I went to the red carpet. I was on the red carpet.
Me. And you know, usually I'm the one who's. Yeah, I see it on opening night, and Christi beat me. Like, if I'm at a con, I see it opening night, because I know some fan's gonna come up and ruin it for me.
Right.
So, you know, that's just what they can't help themselves.
They can't.
Christi, what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts about Love and Thunder?
So I hear what both of you are saying. Yes. I get it. I really do. But I'm going to tell you, I felt like it was a balance, because the one dark hold, the darkest theme throughout this whole film was cancer and Jane dying. And I thought that was the powerful anchor. And again, then she dies. So it's like, we need to laugh through that, because again, this is Marvel. This is comic book. This is comic book. I'm sorry, keyword comic. So I just think there's comic and comedy. I think they're like part of the same family. I know Hilton could break it down for us, honey. The etymology of comic. So I just look at that and I think, you know, I thought it was a healthy balance. I thought the cameo appearances of people, and I mean, when we get ready to talk about it, I guess I can just introduce it here. But I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm a diehard fan of Melissa McCarthy. Yes. And when I saw her playing, I was like, what in the hell? I cried. I cried laughing so hard. Like I was like, I can't even. And then the fact that Luke Hemsworth, Chris's brother, was playing him as Thor. I thought, you know what, y'all, like I live for shit like that. Like that is so funny to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a very the degrees of connection, you know, or how we're all separated or connected, you know, I always tie that in, like, well, so and so and so and so were in this movie 20 years ago together. Like I just love it. I love it. So
Matt Damon and Luke Hemsworth in that play, and
that was classic. It was classic funny to me, and I lived for it because, again, cancer is so heavy, it's so devastating, it's such a hard thing, and I thought it was pretty genius. You got to be really gifted to not feel like we're making light of a very sad and heartbreaking and depressing situation, and to carry that through a whole film, to not, again, feel like, because some people, you know, people are, and I'm sure somebody's out there that gets easily offended, like cancer's not funny. But I just thought they did it in a very classy and classic way. And I love the comedy. I needed that because I'm like, I don't want to go backwards. Like, let's not regress and go back to where you all have openly admitted that's where it kind of tanked. People lost interest in Thor. And comedy is what revived him. Yeah. And so I just think it worked for me. Again, you've got cancer on one hand, and then you got comedy on the other. So I just feel like we're somewhere around here. But I loved it. I don't know how to vote it, but I would give it a 10. And again, just showing his booty alone was like, okay.
He gets that point for that.
It took 23 minutes, 47 seconds for
you know,
Chris Hemsworth's booty enter the building.
The conversation. Yes,
it was. Butt naked Thor was very exciting.
I mean, that was hysterical. It was just funny. Yeah, to see all the folks faint, and I was waiting on that. I mean, I'm glad they gave me that in the trailer.
You know what I want? I wasn't in there with any kids, but I was wondering what the mom with the 5-year-old when butt naked Thor, you know, and it's like you see his bare butt. I wonder what the mom with the 5-year-old, do you cover their eyes or do you just go, oh, it's just a butt? I don't know where parenting is right now. Like, I'm not a parent, so I don't know what the scale of what's acceptable and what isn't in your Marvel movie. I agree with you. But you know what? I guess that's where I felt like I never felt sad by the whole Jane and the whole cancer. And so that's why I wanted to feel sad. That's where I think I felt like the comedy distracted me from the severity of that storyline and the heart of that storyline. And, so that's why I was kind of like, oh, I wish they would tone the joke. Just take 2 jokes out. Just so that I can be I can feel this. I can feel the sting of that more because that is a sting.
But I think
it was shocking.
I think it's a personal thing, though. I think it's how you're wired, honestly, because I was emotional. I felt it. I felt her pain. I felt her, her desperation. I understood that, and I was like, they got to get back. I need to laugh again because I'm a crybaby and I am wired in a way where I see pain and I'm an empath. I immediately take it on. Yeah. And so I didn't struggle, but I just think that it's kind of person to person. It's an individual who how you are. Ashley, you hard as hell. I'm sorry. I went way back.
No, it's okay.
I took y'all back. Sorry.
No, I totally agree that it is personal because there are people who loved everything about this movie. Yeah. But then there's folks, like I said, who are on the superhero movie side who feel a certain way as well. As an objective movie watcher, I personally have seen cancer and the process of cancer portrayed better on the screen. I don't know if that's the proper term, but there was a movie with Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall. Is that his name? Robert
Okay.
Duvall.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
he was playing the father who was dying of cancer, and it got
Mhm.
gritty and ugly. I mean, this guy was,
But
shitting in the shower. I mean, it was really like it really took you through all the stages. And I feel like with Jane's cancer, it was more of a kind of like, okay, the cancer is the backdrop catalyst to how she becomes Thor. And then it kind of hovers in that the way she's going to sacrifice herself. This is how it's going to happen. Now, it was in the comic books, it's comic book canon that this is exactly what
Yeah.
happened. She had cancer, and therefore, when she became Thor, it was kind of taken away, and they played that out brilliantly.
Yeah.
But I think that it also, on the flip side of this, we also did not plug into Gore the God Butcher's pain, because we
Mhm.
didn't see his world destroyed. We did not see what killed his daughter. And we
Yeah.
kind of just shows up with a dying child on the shores of this riverbank or beach or what have you, and we watch her die, but we don't really plug into that process. Like, when you watch a society collapse into war and famine and all that sort of stuff, and you can see the governments collapsing, you can see civil society collapsing, and all the effects of it, and juxtapose over them praying to a God that's supposed to protect them. We never
Mhm.
got that. So all we see is a grieving father showing up in the island or the oasis of this
Yeah.
particular God. And so when he kills him, we're not bought in. Like,
I'm not.
we
Yeah. I
we
had
we
no
know he's
stake
not
in
a
that.
great,
I didn't
he's
care.
not, he's
Yeah.
not a great God, and he's not, he's being a dick, but we're not really like, oh,
Totally.
all
That's
gods
Hilton's
have to die
favorite.
for this. And so I think that is just there's 2 layers out of
Yeah.
probably 5 that really kind of missed some of the payoff. It did it better in some parts
I
of the
agree
movie,
with
like
that.
at the end when he chooses to revive his daughter and give her
Yeah.
life as opposed to killing all of the gods. Like, Christian Bale's a brilliant actor, so we
Yeah.
definitely see
Yeah.
him sell
It was
that.
good. Very good.
Christian
But
Bale was great.
yeah, and then there's also this thing with the Necro Sword. Like, we really didn't see it infecting and killing him the way it was. And
Right.
to the point where some people didn't even know, like, oh, the Necro Sword was killing him. Like, yeah, no, that's why he
Yeah. Every
died.
time
Like,
he would, yeah, he was
yeah,
slowly dying, and they would say it. I agree. That's the part that I was like, because like think about when they showed like it wasn't Guardians of the Galaxy, it was Infinity War, when they showed Gamora and she's with Thanos, and he finds her as a little girl hiding in that hut, and you hear all those people being beaten and destroyed, and Thanos's army is just hurting her whole village, and he gets her out, and you think he's going to kill her, and he's talking to her and he's showing her that knife, and she's like looking for her mom, and he like turns her head and says, no, don't look, and then they kill all of them. Like, that was like, at that moment you understood why Gamora hated Thanos. You understood, like, she witnessed the murder of her village, she witnessed the murder of her mother, she witnessed the murder of her people, and he, for the rest of that time, from a little girl on up, tried to convince her that what he was doing was good and it was better for the world. And so that was like, I agree with you, Hilton, where if they would have gave us some of that, then we would have really understood. It would almost have been like Christian Bale kind of comes on, and like you said, you just immediately get his daughter dying, and that's the tragedy. They didn't give us they didn't seed us
Context.
into, where we would almost love to hate him. He was just someone we hated through the whole movie because we were supposed to. And there was nothing for us to connect to that emotional thread of, this man was turned into a monster, like almost like how Killmonger was turned into a monster, and we could understand his pain, but what he was doing was wrong, but we could understand it. And so that's the part where I felt like you said, I felt like that's where my argument lies, where I felt like they needed a little bit more of this, like something to just ground, and like literally they could have took us to the depths of their soul,
Well,
for us to really ground that comedy, and not distract me from what was unfolding, Yes.
And I agree. I actually, those points, I absolutely agree. Like, and I get it. I understand how you could want more of something and then, a better balance, or just more of the other thing, because that's what some people are there for.
Yeah.
I do agree that we don't See, we don't understand. He does just pop up out of out of nowhere. He just spontaneous combustion. He's just there. But I think the only thing for me, I guess, that got me was, oh Lord, a child has died. That's enough. I mean, it's a lot of people out there that are like, that's enough. Like, I don't even know how. But what I feel like Marvel does so well, and we know this to be true because all the phases that are on the way, I feel like there is an origin series to be told about a few things that happened in Love and Thunder. I mean, in that, and Christian Bale's character is one in particular. Like, there's something there. And Hilton, you're the expert here in comic book everything. But even if it's
our Marvel go-to,
exactly, he is our Marvel encyclopedia.
You are the encyclopedia set that everybody wanted in their house as a kid. That's you, but the Marvel version. That's you, Hilton.
No pressure, no pressure, no pressure.
I know, right?
No pressure at all.
Is there room, Hilton? Could you fathom a space where, even if it's not written, even if a comic book has never been released on this story, I mean, doesn't that kind of open up just another, insurance of longevity, or just another story to tell at some point whenever somebody gets ready, right?
You mean for Gore the God Butcher?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there
no, because he he had a singular arc. Oh yeah, he's dead.
Well, he's dead, but there's I'm just saying, going back, like, to tell, like,
right. But I think the reason why we will never hear from Gore the God Butcher again, and even in retrospect, is that he didn't have a remarkable life up until his world died, and we have everything about him that would affect or connect into any way into the Marvel Cinematic Universe happened after his world died and he killed his first god. And we pretty much saw the birth of Gore the God Butcher to the death of Gore the God Butcher, kind of right there. If you were to do, I mean, it would be like going back and living, doing any type of observation of Gamora's life before her world was attacked and half her people slaughtered and all that. It would be a nice flashback in the context of another movie. Where maybe, but
not a whole series.
Yeah. I don't think there's a whole lot of hay to be made on his work, and the fact that he's the last of his kind. I mean, there really,
that's it.
There's nobody else.
Maybe all we're supposed to care about in that storyline is his daughter died, and it turned him to hate and to evil, and that's it. That's all we need to know. Maybe
there
we
are
don't need to know anything
in the comic book world that we're not sure if they're going to make here in the cinematic universe, between what the Necro Sword is made of is also the same stuff that Venom and the other symbiotes are made of. And those are the threads that connect in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, in the comic book universe, but we haven't really seen those connect directly, in that way. And you do have some other ways that they could do it, but it's complicated. And again, these are other properties. You can't really just bring in Venom and tie him to something if you're not sure that Sony's going to sell you the rights or allow for the use of the character through the rights like they've done with Spider-Man to make these things work. So, I mean, in the comic book, there were more threads connecting it, and it made it more of an impactful story because, the Necro Sword had killed, Celestials, and it had killed a lot of gods. I thought that this movie was going to do more with the multiverse, because in the trailers, you saw so many different costumes and so many different settings that, okay, is Gore the God Butcher killing all the gods in all the realities? Are we going to see, a Thor get run through? And then there were these little Easter eggs about whether or not there was going to be an unknown character. Anytime you see a shot where you see the balance in the center of the shot being over to the left, we have seen in the past that there's a character that has been digitally removed from the promo because it's going to be a movie reveal. And there were a couple of scenes in this movie that we saw in the promos. We're like, oh my God, there's like a whole third of the screen that is empty. Someone's going to be standing there. Who is it going to be? And people are like, oh, it's going to be Beta Ray Bill, or oh, it's going to be Hercules, or oh, it's going to be this and this. And it ended up being nothing.
Right.
And we're kind of like, right. So, you know, that those kinds of things tend to give weight to a movie in the same way that the comic books did. They didn't do that here. I'm not saying I'm disappointed. I never expect this from any movie where there's going to be this huge reveal that's going to change the world and all that sort of stuff. But there were a lot of fans that were expecting more,
holding their breath for it.
They were holding their breath for a lot of things, and they got Thor: Love and Thunder, the comic book version of the movie, and it was very well told, and it was some amazing special effects, and I like how they expanded the world of gods, and some of the intricacies around the powers of these weapons, like Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. And how does Jane just pick up he actually programmed it, when you whisper into the sword, it's a piece of technology.
That relationship was hysterical.
That was hilarious.
I'm sorry. I thought that was funny. You always talking to
So we got all of that, and but again, it only took about a point and a half away from me. I still think it was a great movie. I enjoyed everything about it that Christi enjoyed, and it's for the people who are hating on it because of whatever stupid reason, it's totally not warranted.
It's always a stupid reason.
I don't think you hate on it. I don't think it's a movie you hate on it. I think if we take a deep dive, you talk about the things you didn't like, but like I said, it was a Friday night. I needed something, and it was exactly what I needed. It was enjoyable. I was laughing. I was, it was a great movie. So this is the thing. This was a tiny beef of mine. I'm like, why do you waste such good casting? If you can get a Christian Bale, I don't want him to be a one and done kind of situation in Marvel. Christian Bale is such a great actor. He needed to be a character that was going to be able to come back at least 2, 3 movies. I mean, am I wrong for wanting that? Because I thought he was a great villain, but I would have loved him to be a villain that would have carried on, and been around longer, that makes me mad.
I don't know if Christian Bale wanted that.
Yeah.
I want Christian Bale didn't want it.
Yeah, he did his Batman run and was like, all right, that's enough of that.
That's enough. And think about it. Look at the things that he's attached to in those universes. I mean, that's a big deal. Sometimes people are just like, just give me one shot. That's all I need. I'm good. Well, and I can check that off a list.
Yeah, he's over there. Like Christian Bale is on a whole nother plane when it comes to acting and all that's great. So what did you guys think of? We talked about Jane coming back. What did you think about that? Because I really liked what I did love was just how they showed how their relationship was so great, but it went so cold. But it was just like, I love how Thor just has never stopped loving Jane.
Yeah.
And he can't hide it. Like it's almost like, when you saw T'Challa and they were like, did he freeze? Like he always freezes when Jane steps on the scene. He can't take it. So what do we think about, what do we think about Natalie Portman reprising her role as Jane and coming back? And being really extra buff. What did you guys think of that?
I thought she's fantastic. Natalie Portman, I have been loving her since she was a kid in Leon the Professional. Like that's one of my all-time favorite movies. So
I know.
All this time, she has never done any wrong. I mean, even when Thor was in the darkest days and it was not, everybody's favorite, but I thought that she was remarkably beautiful in this film. She was fierce, and again, to show her at her weakest and at her strongest. I mean, there's a pretty cool for balance of her. And again, I just love her being part of this story, and it's almost like she is his like what is it for Superman? Kryptonite. She's Thor's kryptonite, and it's just interesting. Like it makes him at his weakest. It breaks him where he's like, I don't care about any of that anymore as long as she lives. So I don't know. I love it, again. But historian Hilton is going to tell us what sense it really all makes.
Well,
Take it away.
I think this was her first opportunity to be interesting in the franchise.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but as much as I love her as an actress, I feel like she really did not have a lot to sink her acting chops into up until now.
Yeah.
In this as Jane.
Jane's been
And
like this. It was a little too straight.
yeah,
Like,
she was super straight player, and
Mhm.
she was playing like this, just this. I mean, she was really, I won't say boring, but her
it was
character
too
was.
she was too smart. She was
It
too
was,
serious. She was
yeah,
like, and then Thor almost seemed buffoonish standing next to her because she was just too
yeah,
like it just
yeah.
wasn't a good balance up until now.
She
Until
got an
now, I can see that.
opportunity to really get in there and be goofy and just make these hard decisions and be heroic and play this role in a way that I think that she couldn't have done before. Like, she had to be as corny and as uninteresting as she was in the movies up until now. It's because her character was that, not because she
Yeah.
didn't act as well as she could have or what have you. And because she had a great director, Taika Waititi, and because she had this great cast to play off, and she had this arc that she was able to, kind of follow, she was interesting for the first time for a lot of fans. And I don't think this is the last we're going to see of her. I mean, if
I
you
don't either.
saw the if
Yeah,
you saw
no.
the
Saw
end
the end.
credits, she's in Valhalla, which we now know
Yeah.
is a physical
Valhalla.
space. It is a
A
realm.
physical heaven of some
Yeah,
sort.
yeah.
Yeah.
So who knows what might happen? There's a reason to open up the gates of Valhalla metaphorically in the
Yeah.
storyline. But
Stories
I mean,
to tell. Stories to tell.
this idea that there is this world out there that she can now be active in may come back in
Mhm.
some of the entertainment universe. I don't think she'll be in another movie,
Right.
but like I said, she did a really, really great job. I do want to say though, I was a little disappointed, just a little,
Oh, what?
that her buffness was CGI,
I
and
know. She was like
and
way buff.
I mean, you have to understand, this
It was
is she is
manly.
a woman in her late 30s. She is not going to put on 65 pounds of muscle in time for a movie, but she did get in shape, and she was, definitely, in better shape in order to even play the CGI off better. And
Yeah.
so I kind of understood that. But when I first saw the role, I was like, oh, I know they didn't she got real shoulders. And you
Right.
saw some of
Well,
those pictures
that
with
was
the big
the
shirts
thing.
on.
That
I
was
was
the
like,
thing.
hold
I
up.
felt like they did too much because I felt like they should have just let her be stealth. Like I was almost like she shows up and she's like extra buff. Like it was almost like whose body is that? Because this woman is a thin petite woman and she was like rah! Like it
I
was
love
yeah.
it.
It
I
was
love it. If I'm
almost
gonna be
like
a god, pack it on. Pack it on. I'm gonna need a whole lot. Do all of it CGI. Matter of fact, 'cause I'm not working out.
Right. Put me some abs in there or something, right?
Build me a
One
whole
thing I
new
did
body.
love, one thing I did love is that the very like that last moment between her and Thor, and and I loved how he chose instead of going to fight, Christian Bale's character, he chose to be with her in those last final moments. And he was like,
Mhm.
forget this. I don't care if you kill all the gods. I don't care what you do.
Mhm.
If she's about to die, she's gonna die in my arms,
Mhm.
And I did love the line that they gave her where, Christian Bale's character is deciding whether he's going to kill all the gods. But, they knew he could wish for his daughter to come back. And he was like, she'll be alone. And she goes, she won't be alone. Like it was almost, she sold it. Like, look how much this man loves me. He's like, he's not caring about ending you or ending this battle with you. He's more concerned with taking care of me. He will take care of your daughter. So if that's what you're going to wish for. And so I did feel like
So
that moment did not fall flat for me, that moment. But that was where I was like, finally, like I get this moment where
just wait for it.
That's what I love. That's what I will say about, Marvel movies. They always find a moment where they pull your heartstring and they like pull it out. And you're like, I'm supposed to be here for the action.
Yeah.
And you're like, so that's why that's the only reason I kind of go hard on this movie is because I wanted that throughout. Like there were moments where I didn't feel the impact of it. But I will say you cannot hate on this movie. This movie was very enjoyable. I can't wait to see it again, and it's just one of those things because I love Tessa Thompson. I'm telling you right now, she does no wrong.
Sleeper performance.
Yes, I need Valkyrie to have her own Disney Plus spin-off. I mean, I just want, and I love that she was king. Like it was like, I love that they stood up for that. And, because that's really her life. She is part of the LGBT community. And for her to be able to be that superhero for the LGBT community, I love it. I love it. I love it. Tessa Thompson is one of my favorite actresses.
And this
Valkyrie.
movie is definitely worth multiple viewings, even if you're just because it's got so many Easter eggs in it. So for the comic fans, if you're watching this, you know, when you see it once, you're just kind of getting, you know, the snapshots.
You
of
just
it.
get the overview.
So much.
Yeah.
But when you go back and see it again and again, you start noticing stuff, and it's got so many Easter eggs. They do so much with this movie that just kind of cracks the door on so many things that are to come in Phase 5 that it's worth watching just for that, if nothing else, because these are places that weren't destroyed. You know, this is an omnipotent city, you know, where all the gods were gathering. You know, we were introduced to that. We were introduced to the concept of creator gods as opposed to, you know, this concept of aliens with so much power and technology that it looks like magic, and they believe their own hype that they're gods. And so that there's that differentiation between the gods that was made here. And I just think there's going to be a lot of stories that are going to come from this movie that are not like direct offshoots. Yeah. And I'm with you. This idea of the kids, I have a bone to pick and a hand. Did you
know Thor could do that? Like he could put like I didn't know he could give people power. Did we know that?
He can, and this is the differentiation.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, "Oh, Thor could have gave everybody the power of Thor."
Right, we could have had that in Endgame, and we would have wiped out Thanos in 2 seconds. We wouldn't have had much of a movie.
He did that through Zeus's thunderbolt. Not through Mjolnir,
right.
Stormbreaker. Right. The Thunderbolt is like
you're right. Okay, that's
weapon of the gods. It is beyond any of the weapons that he has wielded before. And so doing that, you know, that's one, it's a way out. It kind of allows, you know, you to say, okay, this is something that he whispers into the Thunderbolt and does it. You kind of go, okay, the Thunderbolt. You know, this is what they're doing it through. So, yeah. And the fact that he knew that he could do that, you know, maybe that was something that was sort of a reveal. I love the idea. I did not see it coming. The empowering of the kids. That was my favorite part of the movie.
It was really good.
I was wondering, like, Thor, what in the hell are you doing telling these kids to pick up random objects? I'm like, and he's like, "You're all kids. You're all Asgardians." Like, I'm not Asgardian. I'm a Lycan. Like, oh, you're all Asgardians now. Which, you know, I was thinking like, oh, okay, they're Asgardians because Asgardians are kind of like a Kryptonian would be on Earth in a way. Like an Asgardian child could probably lift a Chevy. You know what I mean? Right. So you're like, okay, you give him a stick. He could probably hold some stuff off while you're fighting. Okay, cool. But then he did the empowering. And then the kids go off and start destroying all the shadow creatures. And
kids to battle,
even the kid with the bunny, the bunny rabbit, stuffed bunny.
That was hysterical.
I said, okay, that was a good one. I got you.
Yeah, I like that. Was really good. And but I'm glad you broke that down to me because I was one of those people who was like, how did he give them all power? Like, I didn't even know this was possible. But you're right. The Thunderbolt. Yep. You're right. See, that's why you got to watch movies more than once. And also. That's why you got to watch the BOP because you will bring up stuff and like kind of you both have brought up stuff to help me go, good. Okay, Thor Love and Thunder was an 8. It wasn't a 7, it's an 8.
It brings you home. It home.
Yeah. Well, because I think it's good to talk about the movie so that you can really like flesh it out amongst your friends and like really see things that you didn't see or maybe rethink things that you weren't considering. But okay, so one of the big things that I loved was the end credit scene where we see Hercules and it's played by Brett Goldstein, who's one of my favorite actors from Ted Lasso. He is amazing. I love Ted Lasso. And I was like, we screamed, me and my friends that we were with, like we were watching and we screamed. And they were screaming because it was Hercules. I was screaming because he's going to play Hercules. And I'm like, oh, it's on. It's about to be on. They got a bomb actor in this position. What did you guys think of that? Because I was like, oh.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Having a character is like that is important.
Yeah. And I grew up obsessed with, you know, when I was in, I would say junior high, like that's when you get introduced to Greek mythology and all of that. And so I was always always a big fan of just the stories and just the themes and the characters. And so that's awesome. I just was excited. Like, okay. I think when I get to end credits, first of all, we do every time we're in the theater and no one
moves. 80%. There's always like 10 people, and you're like, "Are you doing this? Like, who are you? You gotta go to the bathroom. What's the problem? Like, why are you getting up?
Why are you even here? How did you even make it into the theater? Because and of course, and I'm the
security.
Security. With having posters
in the building. Muggles in the building.
And I'm the one to say they not true fans. They ain't no real fans. I
assume they gotta go to the bathroom or something. I'm like, come on, because you gotta know by now you don't get up until the lights turn on.
No.
So that's number one. But number two is, again, to see that, I was just like, it's Hercules. Like, again, it makes me get excited because Marvel has so much stuff to do. There's so many stories to tell, and I'm here for all of it. Like, I mean, that's what keeps the world going. I mean, honestly, like, again, with all the phases and everything coming and all that we have to look forward to, I just years from now, I hope the planet is still in existence. Y'all know me, I'm like doomsday, but it's like, just so I can see the Marvel movies. I just want to be here.
Take me away from this place, Marvel.
To get to the theater.
Away from this place. Yes. Not Calgon, take me away. Marvel take me away.
I was so pleased on the face of it that Zeus didn't die, because I was kind of like, you know, there's and this is, to me, the one redeeming factor for Thor, you know, the God of Thunder, the first movie, is that it did put in context the invulnerability and the immortality of Asgardians. You see people taking mortal wounds who are kind of like, okay, I got to walk that off. And I'm sitting there like, you know, yeah, it's a thunderbolt. Yes, went straight through his sternum, but it's Zeus. You have to destroy an Olympian, the same way you're supposed to say when you destroy an Asgardian, you have to destroy like a significant portion of their body for them to die. And unless there's some magic or something involved.
Beheading is always their favorite thing.
Right.
Yeah, and we've even seen people put their heads back on in the comics. If you have it, like Loki got beheaded. Loki got beheaded once, and he literally went over, grabbed his head, put it back on, and was like, "You guys are crazy." And so I know it hurts the storytelling when you have that level of immortality, but I was like, this is Zeus. He did not just fall to his death.
If anybody, Zeus is gonna have to survive.
He's got to do it.
And can we just celebrate though Russell Crowe as Zeus, y'all?
I think that was expert casting, and again, another reason why I'm happy that he's not dead, because you know there's going to be a part of the story that connects Zeus to Hercules' arc. Yeah, and Hercules is, I use the word a lot, he's a dick, and he's him and Thor in the comics fight all the time, even though they're tentatively allies. You know, they fight to save the world, but they're always rivals, and so they're always trying to beat each other up and all this sort of stuff. So the fact that you lay the predicate for that, where he says they've got to see Thor fall, now Hercules is like, okay, I've got to bring honor back to my father's name, and he came and desecrated, you know, in front of all these people. I've got to go and just, I'm going to take this, not necessarily kill him, but they're going to see this guy crumble, and I'm going to be the one that takes over in his place. So I love that, because that's going to open up more of that dynamic, because what's happening is that Hercules' arc is starting where Thor's arc was in the first movie. He's hot-headed. He's trying to prove something to his dad. He's trying to prove he's the strongest. He's trying to fight everybody in the world to prove his worth. And he's going to meet the Thor who's already been through all that.
Been there, done that.
And it's like, oh God, here we go. You know, so it's going to be a really, really great juxtaposition when those two end up somehow on the screen together. Also, the fact that Hercules is like class 100, you know, strength. He can go toe to toe with Hulk and Thor and all this. So he's no slouch. So he's going to be doing some serious ass kicking. You know, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that too. Like, I want to see what happens with that.
Yeah. That was like the one thing where I was like, okay, here, take my money for part 3. Take can we buy it today? Like pre-sales, do they start right now?
I told they should sell membership.
I'm ready.
So like,
they should.
$150 gives you the next
3 movies.
8 movies or whatever.
Yeah,
and
anything.
Yeah. Flash a card. Just show your card. Honey.
Oh man, I would be a Platinum Plus member. Let me tell
Yeah.
you right now. Yeah, so that was great. And so lastly, I mean, I wanted to talk about his daughter, who is actually, Chris's real daughter, who played well, her character was Love. And so I just loved that. They just needed that one scene where those two, you could tell the chemistry was between them. It was cute, it was sweet, and then they run out and both of their eyes light up, and I just loved it.
He's going to be one of the characters that show up in the Young Avengers, and I'm not sure which other one he's going to show up in, but she has got like real omnipotent potential as a character because she's born of eternity. So this is she was brought back to life, but through eternity. So she has this power to tap into, which is why she can wield Stormbreaker, and it's why she could just go into battle and all of these sorts of things. So it's going to be really cool to see what they do with her going forward.
I love it. And yes,
I have a question. Hilton does now. Forgive me, because y'all know. Teach me like I'm 4.
No, but this is good.
I'm brand new. But does being born in eternity and the Eternals have anything to do? Because I didn't watch the Eternals. I'm sorry.
One more homework assignment for you, but not connected to this.
I know it's on the list.
Eternity is the sum total of the universe. He sits in the center of the universe, and he is the manifestation of the universe, has all of its power, knowledge, and all of that, and can grant wishes, apparently, which is a new thing. However, this is totally disconnected from the advanced creation, which is something that is not comic book canon, but is in the movies that the Eternals are. The Eternals are a race, if you will, of very, very, very sophisticated, bioorganic, forever beings with amazing power that go and seed planets and create new celestials. The big giant robotic guys, like if you saw in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, where he showed Eson the Searcher taking the Power Stone and wiping clean that planet and showing the power of it. That was an Eternal, and they are there and they serve them. So it is a play on words, but they are not connected in. I don't think in any
That's
way.
good though. That was a really good question, because there are so many people who like just watch it for the entertainment. They don't know the lore and the me. I know some
and they
of
didn't
it.
flesh this out in the movie. So
I know some of it, but I'm not I haven't been reading comic books for the last 100 years.
And the beauty of the MCU is that they do not tell a story where it was necessary for you to know that.
Yeah,
and that's where they win. It's not where Harry Potter wins, and that's another show. Because you gotta know some stuff to really get the Harry Potter experience the way you want.
Right.
But Marvel is like, okay, we're gonna tell people enough about who and what eternity is in order to tell the story we're in, but we're not gonna force people to kind of know what all the statues are in that hall in the center of the universe, which has the living tribunal and has infinity and has the one above all, and which is an eternal, and the Watcher. But they just like, hey, Easter eggs. That's what those are.
Yeah.
I just want to say it officially here. I want to leave Earth and go live in the Marvel universe. That's all I want to do.
It's dangerous and unstable.
It's not
crazy.
Planets are being destroyed. I want to go live in Wakanda.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I want to have my choice. I'm going to
You want to live in Wakanda.
I'm living there. Forever and ever and ever and ever.
You may not want to live in Wakanda based on what they're about to do. You see in the trailer, like, hold up. Like, I just bought my flat. I bought my condo in Wakanda.
Wakanda is forever. There is that's hands down. We already know that. That's like real life forever and ever.
I love it.
It's just they have so much. It's so much. It's just, I love it. I'm so
happy. Well, you know what? We love it. We all love it. If you have not watched Thor: Love and Thunder, go and watch it. It is definitely a good movie. It's an entertaining movie. It's great. You can take the kids. There's one scene of Thor's butt, but all kids have seen a butt.
CGI, airbrush.
Actually, it's beneficial to see something that sexy.
For
And
everybody.
that is the gift for the mama
everybody.
who works over the
not
mama
agree.
who worked
You do
overtime,
agree, Hilton.
who had to like feed her kids 7,
I
8
looked
days
directly
a
into
week.
my popcorn because I had
That is
cheese
for
on one
us.
side. I had regular popcorn.
That is
And I
for
wanted
us.
to be sure.
Hilton,
Like,
don't hate.
oh no,
That's just
like, yeah.
anatomy. That's human
Yeah.
anatomy, honey.
And
That's
it's
just
probably the
appreciate.
most like the finest anatomy, I think. I mean, it's like zero body fat anatomy. Like
See,
I don't even
learn more about
understand
this and other
the
things on
anatomy.
the BOP Plus.
The
The BOP Plus.
BOP Plus
After
X.
dark.
So hey, what I want to do is I want to introduce a new idea for us. We have to
Yes.
award. We've got to give things bops. So
Okay.
Karan Ashley, you give Thor: Love and Thunder how many bops?
I give Thor: Love and Thunder 8 bops.
8
bops. I give it 8 bops. That's what my score is. What do you guys give it?
And it's gonna look like this.
8.5 for me.
8.5. Oh,
8.5
he is
for me.
8.5 bops. I like it. I like it. Okay, 8.5 bops. Christy, what are you giving it?
And,
you're gonna go 10 bops. You know, Christy.
Listen, anything Marvel. Y'all know, you know me.
It all
It's
gets
always,
a 10.
Everything is a 10 from Marvel. Yes.
But
so
you know,
10
we
bops.
need your pure heart. We need Christy's pure heart to just balance out my jaded, my black heart.
You got a dark heart. You do.
I have a dark.
Listen,
when it comes
Karan
to movie
Ashley,
making, storytelling, I've
you're
got
just
the darkest heart.
I always tell this, if I had to describe, like, again, our history, we got history.
Yes,
so
yes,
from she was 12, y'all. She was 12. So it's like, that's a long time. You just always were the hard, like, go hard or go home person in my life. And so you are still that. You've got that. And by hard, I don't mean like you're mean. You can't be mean. But we all can be mean.
I'm focused. I'm laser focused on my dreams.
This is you. And again, I know your soft side because we have that relationship. But when I tell you, this one right here can be like,
Well, you know what I am? I'm like that when outside noise tries to derail what I feel is a positive flow of energy. I will be like, I'll be the first one to speak up. I'll be the first one to say, this is not welcome here. I'll be the first one to be like, can we talk?
I have valued that. So
I just feel like, that's one thing about this show. I love the energy of the show. I love how we have fun together. We can agree to disagree and laugh our way through all of it, whether it be talking about Marvel or talking about politics. I mean, we are really like, we don't shy away from anything. And so for me, that's where, when you say that, you're right. I'm absolutely like, I like to have fun. I like to be positive. I like to encourage. But when anything threatens that positivity bubble,
you're a fierce defender.
I'm a fierce defender of the positivity bubble. And even just people, like I have long talks with people that I'm like close friends with, or even just acquaintances with, where I notice where they're allowing things to change them. I go, you got a choice in this. This is just life. Like, life is gonna freaking grab you by the neck and toss you around like a rag doll. And how you react to it is exactly what your life will be. And so I'm very much like, you have a choice to accept greatness, positivity, or you have a choice to,
be a dick. Be a dick. Y'all got it out of me. Y'all made me.
There it is. And there it is. Guys, thank you for watching The BOP. We are the BLERD official podcast. We are so glad you've joined us. Tune in next Tuesday because we've got some more amazing topics. We are never going to shut up. You gave us a mic and now it's never turn it off.
Never.
Bye, guys.
Tune in every Tuesday for a new episode of The BOP, the BLERD official podcast.